Hello, my name is Sierra Sanner, and I will be discussing the consumer problem of food insecurity. Today, I will be discussing food insecurity, what it means, who is at risk, and what we can do to combat food insecurity. I will also go over the public health concerns that food insecure people deal with. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has described food insecurity as the lack of consistent access to enough food for an active, healthy life. Food security can be categorized into four different categories. High food security means that a household has little concerns about where they can access healthy, fresh foods. Marginal food security means that households face times of anxiety about being able to access adequate food, but for the most part, consumption amounts were unaffected. Low food security means that households face times where food supplies were not in the best of quality, but eating patterns remain relatively similar. Very low food security means that household experiences several instances where the quality and the quantity of food were reduced. In 2017, 11.8% of U.S. households were food insecure. 4.5% of U.S. households had very low food security. Some are affected by food insecurity more than others. The number of Americans experiencing food insecurity is about 40 million. To put that into perspective, that's about 1 in every 8 Americans. People are more at risk if they live in poverty, are a child or are a senior, are African American, are Latino, or live in a rural area. Many times, if a person is at risk if they fit into more than one of these categories. 11.8% of people are facing food insecurity. That's 40 million Americans. 12 million children, 15 million seniors, 21.5% of African Americans, 18% of Latinos, and 8% of the rural community. All of these people are living with a doubt about a reliable source of food for themselves and for their families. When a person is in poverty, they are experiencing a consistent state of hardship. This hardship makes it difficult for them to pay bills, buy groceries, and afford other expenses. According to the United States Census Bureau, 12.3% was the poverty rate in 2017. To put that into perspective, that's about 39.7 million Americans living in poverty. We can see that in 2017, people under the age of 18 were the most affected by poverty. 17.3% of males under the age of 18 were in poverty, while 17.7% of females under the age of 18 were in poverty. It was found that from 2007 to 2011, there were more than 11 million Hispanic people and more than 9 million African American people that were living in poverty. Some states seem to be stricken more with poverty than others. Mississippi has been leading poverty rates for over a decade now. In 2017, Mississippi, Louisiana, New Mexico, West Virginia, and Kentucky were the top 5 states in poverty. We need to pay attention to poverty because families are experiencing a consistent state of hardship, then they are likely to be suffering from hunger as well as exhausted in other ways. Children. It is extremely difficult for a child who doesn't know where their next meal will come from. 1 in 6 children will experience this. It is so crucial for children to eat regularly, especially in the first 3 years of their life. The American Psychological Association has identified toxic stress as a consistent activation of the body's stress response system. Toxic stress is common in cases where people are facing low food security and hunger. Stress affects the brain development, learning, and information processing. Therefore, it is extremely crucial to get the nutritional food to all children. Malnutrition occurs in the body when the body is lacking necessary nutrients. If a child is malnutrited, they will likely experience some health complications. The physical and intellectual growth is more limited and won't develop till its full ability. Children that are also facing hunger are typically also seen having more difficulties in school than other children. They are more likely to repeat a grade during elementary school. They are also more likely to have developmental impairments. These impairments are typically seen taking the biggest toll on the child's language and motor skills. Children with food insecurity are also seen having more social and behavioral problems. A senior qualifies anyone over the age of 60. The State of Senior Hunger in America report discusses data from 2016 that shows that more than 15 million seniors were experiencing some sort of food insecurity. Overall, that's 8.6 million seniors that were marginally food insecure, while 4.9 million seniors were food insecure, and while 1.8 million seniors were very low food insecure. When looking at racial and ethnic minorities, we see that the African American seniors experienced higher rates of food insecurities than both whites and Hispanics. 29.4% of African American seniors were living marginally food insecure, 18.7% food insecure, and 7.6% very low food insecure. Hispanic seniors were also very high in food insecurity. 27% of Hispanic seniors were marginally food insecure, and only 11.6% of white seniors were marginally food insecure. Seniors that live below the poverty line are 46.4% marginally food insecure, 31.4% food insecure, and 13.1% very low food insecure. In contrast, seniors that have incomes that are double what the poverty line is 6.1% of seniors are marginally food insecure, and 3% that were low food insecure, but 0.9% that were very low food insecure. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, an average of 21.5% of the African American community experience hunger or food insecurity in the household. Only 8% of the African American community has access to a grocery store. This means that people are in a food desert. Food deserts are areas where it is difficult to access healthy and fresh foods. Areas where there are healthy foods are already difficult to get to. It doesn't help that 24% of the African American community does not own a vehicle. This makes traveling to grocery stores or supermarkets much more challenging. All of these factors force families to resort to eating quick, cheap food that is conveniently around. Like many people facing food insecurity, the African American community is also experiencing high unemployment. In January 2018, 62.9% of black men and 57.9% of black women were unemployed. In 2008, Feeding America found that 30% of all Hispanic children live in poverty. That was compared to 34% of African American children and 10% of all white children living in poverty. 29% of Hispanic children receive some sort of food assistance. About 67% of children that were receiving assistance had 3 or more children in their household. And about 30% of households that were receiving assistance had at least 3 adults in the house. That's significant because only 63% of households that were receiving assistance had working adults in them. Unemployment is a serious issue in the Latino community. Hispanic men have some of the highest unemployment rates in America. In January 2018, the unemployment rate for a Hispanic man was 76.9%. For a white man, it was 69.5%, and for a black man, it was 62.9%. Hispanic women fell at 55.7% unemployment rate. For anyone, being unemployed makes it challenging to continually support a household. Rural communities are areas that have low population densities. Food insecurity affects 8% of the rural community. Families that are below the poverty line are affected much more, and depending on where your household is, there might be more disadvantages. Roughly about 2.4 million people in rural areas are dealing with food insecurity. 35% of people in rural areas that are food insecure are also low income. People that are already struggling to make ends meet have too often to make the choice between bills and food. 15% of households in rural areas experience food insecurity, and that's compared to 11.8% of households in suburban or large city areas. Depending on the location of the household, it might be in a food desert. Some areas are so far away from grocery stores or farmers market that people can simply not drive to go get the food. It makes them resort to eating more based on convenience than what's healthy for them. Seniors in rural areas are greatly affected. Due to the lack of money or resources, they struggle to obtain the healthy foods for themselves. Unemployment is hard for everyone. People that are unemployed in rural areas are facing many challenges. It is likely that it is likely already a challenge for them to make ends meet, but being in a rural community means that there are lower wages and less job opportunities. Finding a job in other areas might be challenging because of long commutes and transportation. How to get help. The organization Feeding America works to serve people across the United States that are dealing with hunger and food insecurity. The organization provides and supports a variety of food assistance programs that apply to people of all ages. The different programs are for select needs. For instance, they have the Backpack Program, which assists school children that participate in free or reduced school meals. The program gives children nutritious, easy to make food for the weekend. Another program is the Senior Grocery Program, which gives easy, nutritious meals that can be made at home to the elderly community. Programs like these give ease to families that cannot afford to buy meals or small, simple snacks. There are many federal food assistance programs that are designed to assist people with their food insecurity problems. Typically, the programs are meant for low income households. They are not meant to discriminate against family or individuals' race, ethnicity, religion, or marital status. Some programs are made especially for children or for seniors. SNAP, which recently replaced food stamps, provides a small budget to families in need so that they can purchase better, healthier foods. SNAP is the Supplemental Nutritional Assistant Program. It is very similar to other programs such as the Emergency Food Assistant Program that provides short-term assistance through means such as food banks, or the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, which helps low-income seniors. The only differences between these programs is that the Emergency Food Assistant Program and the Commodity Supplement Food Program both help to supply food banks, while SNAP, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistant Program, does not. WIC stands for Women, Infants, and Children, those of which are provided with nutritious foods. The NSLP and SBP are the National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program. These programs provide balanced meals to children while they are at school. The SFSP, Summer Food Service Program, grants free meals and snacks to children during the summer that are lower income. The Child and Adult Care Food Program provides meals for children, adults, and seniors when they are unable to make it or provide it for themselves. In New Mexico, there are plenty of resources that can be accessed when needed. Anyone can apply for programs such as the Supplement Nutritional Assistant Program, SNAP. However, the state determines how much support they will provide you. In Las Cruces, there are many opportunities for people that are in need. There are multiple locations that offer financial assistance. Several locations offer assistance for immigrants, seniors, children, and the working poor. These sites are all around Doña Ana. They include the Calvary Baptist Church, United University Methodist Church, the Gospel Rescue Mission, El Calito Soup Kitchen, and a few others. They attempt to provide groceries as well as clothing and hygiene products. They are also programs that assist in paying select bills, money management, and other types of aid. Students can seek resources on campus when they need to. New Mexico State University has what is called the Aggie Cupboard. The cupboard provides assistance to students weekly, and once a month, a mobile pantry provides up to 70 pounds worth of food for each student that goes. What can you do? There are many things that any person can do to help people that are facing food scarcity. Donations are accepted by numerous organizations. The image to the right shows that there are some items that are requested for food banks and food drives. Please note that not all items on there are food, but items that people might be struggling to afford. These items include canned fruits, vegetables, pasta, rice, and hygiene products. Donating can be done with food drives or food banks. They even include a section for items that might be needed for infants, children, or seniors, such as baby diapers, wipes, juice boxes, and nutritional shakes or drinks. Volunteering is another great thing that you can do to help those in need. More than half of all food programs rely on volunteer support. Organizations need volunteers to help sort, pack, or stack areas of the food banks. Volunteers also work directly to help serve families. As an advocate for people facing food scarcity, you'll work to make sure that there's a voice in America, whether that be making sure that budgets and taxes are properly allocated or enforcing different bills and acts that support those in need. Food education is the most important thing that anyone can do to help themselves or others that are facing food insecurity. Food education. It is very common to see someone choose what they eat based on how convenient it is. It is much easier and cheaper to go through a drive-through than to cook a meal at home. But all the food we eat, because of convenience sake, is taking a big toll on our bodies. We don't understand what is in our food and how much of it we're supposed to be eating. Learning what you consume will help you to make more conscious decisions on what you eat. Understanding the nutritional facts of foods is crucial. Not understanding nutritional labeling can lead to overeating and improper nutrition. Food comes packaged with labels that have daily value amounts that each consumer should follow for their diets. Many diagrams, such as the food pyramid or the My Plate, serve as guides to how much an average person should eat in a meal. Chapter 14 in the Consumer Economic Issues in America textbook discusses how food issues in America are a big problem. Americans, as a whole, have poor diets. By learning what is in food, we can manage how much of it we're supposed to actually consume. For example, most foods we consume are high in fats. Foods like avocados, cheese, and nuts are some high in fat foods that people overeat daily. It is recommended that we consume 50 to 65 grams of fat per day. But, for instance, a single cup of almonds has 45 grams of fat. What people may see as a small snack can really be bad for you. Planning meals ahead of time reduces how much families eat out or convenience eat. If people plan their trips to the grocery store, they will be more prepared and less likely to buy unhealthy items. Writing a shopping list is the simplest thing that can be done. It is beneficial because it gives clear objectives of what is needed for the home and healthy meals that can be planned ahead of time. For people in food deserts, it is incredibly important to plan grocery trips. Planning what is needed ahead of time will allow for families to get the necessary items for their homes when they actually have the opportunity to go to the grocery store or farmer's market, and it avoids them overspending on things that aren't needed. Public health. In the report, Understanding the Connections, Food Insecurity and Obesity, there are direct connections that indicate food insecurity is linked with being obese or overweight. That seems strange, right? You would think that since people don't have enough food, they would be malnutrited and undereating, but people are actually showing more and more signs of becoming overweight. Limited resources are cause for concern for many food insecure people and for many overweight people. Full-service grocery stores can be difficult to find in some neighborhoods. Everyone has seen that whenever we go into a grocery store, most of the foods that appear to be healthy are overpriced. To stretch budgets, people try to stick to energy-dense foods that don't cost a lot. These energy-dense foods tend to be of lower nutritional value. People have to eat more of these cheap foods to feel full, causing them to overeat. There are many options in the fast food market rather than in the fresh produce market, which is a big problem for low-income neighborhoods. Therefore, to rely on this fast food rather than fresh food. When people are deprived of food, they seem to overeat when the food is available. They skip meals and make food stretch for an extended amount of times. Once they have available food, they overeat. The cycle of food deprivation followed by overeating causes the body to slow its metabolic changes and promote fat storage. People's body at this point are trained to think that there will be another cycle of food deprivation, so it must hold on to all of the calories that it can while it can. When a neighborhood is in a food desert, it is likely lacking other resources. It is common that lower income neighborhoods have less resources around that encourage physical activity. Even if a location has areas for physical activity, like a park, it doesn't mean that that's a place that people want to be. Some areas have unsafe equipment or are in unsafe neighborhoods where there's a lot of crime or traffic. It is so crucial to pay attention to the health of people that are food insecure. Being overweight or obese is a growing problem for people that are food insecure. The rest of their health should also be a growing concern. Since so many people have to make the hard choice between deciding between groceries or medical needs, it's not unlikely for them to be lacking essential nutrients. It can be more difficult for them to recover from illnesses. If people can't afford to buy dinner, how should we expect them to be able to afford to go to the doctor? Not treating medical problems efficiently can make those problems worse. The graph to the right shows households that had high food security had a 37.4% chance of having someone in the home that had some sort of chronic illness, while very low food secure households had a 52.7% of that chance. That means that households that were very low on food security had more than a 15% chance of having someone in the home that had a chronic illness. There are 10 chronic diseases that can be associated with food insecurity. These include hypertension, coronary heart disease, hepatitis, stroke, cancer, asthma, diabetes, arthritis, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and chronic kidney disease. These diseases can be caused by the habits that we have picked up over the years of unhealthy eating. Once you develop the disease, it can be difficult to manage or treat. Each of these diseases can be prevented by eating correctly and physical activity. The public needs to be concerned with preventing all of these unwanted problems. Eating healthy and not overeating are two simple yet effective methods at preventing chronic diseases and obesity. It is important to plan grocery trips so that households can plan the meals that they will eat to keep their families healthy. Resources like food banks or food drives are able to provide healthy food items for households to make healthy meals at home for those who are struggling to purchase their own groceries. People in need can also attempt to use other resources like SNAP to get money to buy more groceries. And that is food insecurity, who is at risk, what can be done, and the public health concerns. Thank you.